Hey everybody, time to let the smoke genies out. So what I've got right here is a Crate GX1200H guitar amp, solid state guitar amp. I picked this head up for 10 bucks at a yard sale. And I mean, you know, it looks really rough. Alright, so in the back here we've got quite a bit of rust showing on the laminated core of the transformer. The reverb unit, it's got a mechanical reverb and it appears to be intact. It's not torn out of there, so that's a good sign. The cord is wired in. A lot of corrosion on the cord, but it's nice to see that no one has cut the ground pin off of the cord. Alright, so that's interesting. This actually says GX1200H on the back here. We've got a reverb jack. We've got the channel gain / select. Okay, so this is for the foot switch. If we had a foot switch, we could turn the reverb on and off, and we could select the channel gain. These are the speaker outputs. So looks like 120 watts at 4 ohms impedance. So this probably is a 100 watt head. That fuse actually looks good. That fuse is either good or did not blow violently, because there's no indication of a black mark on the glass. Alright. Well, my days of playing loud guitar are long behind me, so I no longer have an enclosure that I can plug this amp into. So I'm just going to use a test speaker. This is a big 15-inch speaker that I took out of a console stereo many years ago, and I use it for testing. It's actually branded Magnavox on the back. So interestingly enough, it's probably an 8 ohm speaker. I know this calls for a 4 ohm impedance on the output. I could safely run an 8 ohm speaker on a 4 ohm amplifier. An amplifier that wants a 4 ohm impedance, I could safely run an 8 ohm speaker on it. I just won't get maximum efficiency. Whereas you would never want to run a 4 ohm speaker on an amplifier designed for 8 ohm impedance, because that can cause too much current to flow in the output transistors and fry them. Alright, so I've got my variac turned all the way down now. So I'm going to turn the power on the amp. I've got the meter set to the 1.5 amp range, and I'm going to slowly bring the variac up and watch the current. Make sure it doesn't start to run away. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of noise out of the speaker. That's a good sign. It's about 1/4 of an amp right there. Alright. That noise is not necessarily abnormal. Yeah, you see, once you get up to a certain voltage, the current drops way down and the amp goes quiet. That's probably normal, considering we've got all of this electronic switching in the front end, and might even be like a noise gate circuit in there. Alright, let's see. I'm probably at around 60 or 70 volts. This meter doesn't read correctly, but I've gotten used to dealing with it till I get around to actually figuring out which resistor in there has changed value and is causing the meter to read improperly. But what I'm able to do is I'm able to tell that when this says just about 49 or 48 volts, it's actually full output. So right there is full output, and we're drawing less than 1/4 of an amp, less than 250 milliamps, probably closer to 125 milliamps. So that's good. Let's turn up some of these knobs. Gain 1 isn't doing anything. Oh, gain 2. Definitely hear more white noise I turn that up. This level is probably like a master volume. Tell you what, this sounds like it's live. I think this amplifier is working. I don't have a guitar cord and a guitar down here, so I do, however, have this microphone with a 1/4-inch jack on it. It's actually got an impedance matcher because it's got an XLR. Oh yeah. Testing 1 2. Test. Testing 1 2. Hey everybody, I got the variac out of the way and tilted this up so I can get better lighting on here. I was able to find an owner's manual. This is in fact a GX1200H. I thought that was an A, but it is an H. I just didn't have my glasses on, and you know, the visibility wasn't that great. I got some better lighting on it. That also shows me that up underneath here, under the overhang where I couldn't see it, there are some labels that clearly explain more about this, and that became evident once I got the owner's manual and looked at it. So now that I know how this operates, I can test it a little bit more correctly. So just to explain how this works, you only have one input, but you're able to select one of two channels to send that input through before it goes to the final power amplifier inside here. So for instance, that's this switch right here, the channel select. When I have this switch, let me just turn it on. When I have this switch in this position right here and the green arrow is pointing to the right, the green arrow is to indicate that the input is going through the clean channel. So none of this right here comes into effect at this point. All right. So this is clean output. So this would be like with the microphone I have in there. If I wanted to, you know, wanted it to not sound horrible, this is where I want to be doing my testing. If I change to this, the red means it's going through the dirty channel or the overdrive channel. So that means that this master level control now is in effect. These controls work, and then one of two of these two gain controls will be operative depending on which one of these, whether this button is in or out. If this left gain control is active, the more I increase it, the more overdrive. Ooh, I forgot the microphone was on. The more distortion I get. That being said, gain 2 is even more aggressive, even more distortion. And with gain 2, you also have this shape control that allows you to get different sounds. So they're basically saying you've got quite a bit of versatility sound-wise here. And then, of course, this is designed to be controlled by the foot switch if needed. So I don't want this. I want clean. Testing. 1 2. Test test. So we'll try it with the reverb off first. So I've got all of my low, mid, and high turned up. So I'm going to turn this up, hopefully try and avoid some feedback. Testing 1 2. Test test. That's about as loud as I can get it before it's going to start to feedback. Right there is. I don't want to push it. And now the reverb. Testing 1 2. Test. Testing 1 2. So the reverb works and the amp works. So pretty good. Nothing. I can't find anything wrong with this thing. So nearest I can surmise is that the people I bought this from, they just had a bunch of random household stuff there, and I would say that they probably did like an apartment clean out or something. Maybe somebody left in a hurry or was evicted or who knows what, and they just grabbed this and stuck it out there for sale, because it is filthy, and like I said, there is some rust here. So I'm just going to do a quick cleanup on this, and I'll probably just touch up these screws with a little black paint and maybe get a little of the rust off that transformer on the back and re-glue on that bit of material that seems to be coming off on the back there. Even the potentiometers aren't scratchy or anything, so I'm not even going to open this up and clean those. Just going to, you know, I only paid 20 bucks for it. Let's turn it around and sell it real quick and cheap. Oh, these four hold the chassis in. Four output transistors. Probably 2 complementary pairs. Not a lot of surprises in here. We've got some little 8-pin ICs here. These might be op amps. Down the other end you get your typical B plus and B minus power supply setup. That's why we got the 2 big filter caps. Got a bridge rectifier so you get full wave rectification. I wonder whether or not these potentiometers are actually changing a DC level on one of these, you know, on these little op amps and using that for the level control, as opposed to having the actual signal actually have to go through the potentiometers. That would explain why, even after this thing's been sitting probably for a long time and has all this corrosion on it, that the the controls are quiet. They're not all scratchy. That's just a guess. I'm really not that concerned. All that matters to me is the fact that I don't have to go through and clean all of these things. So down inside here, there's just a couple of RCA jacks that plug into the reverb unit. There's a gray one, that's to the outside, and the red one's towards the inside. I don't know whether or not that makes a difference or not, but I'm just going to make note of that so when I put this back together, I can put it back together the same way. Alright, so this is what I was talking about here. See how this is all... The glue has dried out. So that, we can make a nice, quick, easy fix of that. Alright, get back to the matter at hand, which is removing all these screws so that I can sand them and give them a touch-up of black paint. Well, the vinyl cleaned up pretty decent. I re-glued this back part here that was peeling off, and I got it clamped. While I'm waiting for the glue to dry, decided to just hit the fasteners real quick with some gloss spray paint. I didn't want to get too fussy with them. Didn't want to put too much time into this thing. But then these 2 covers here for the handle, they were really in bad shape. A lot of exposed metal that was rusted, so I just hit these with the wire wheel, cleaned them up. Got some of the more stubborn parts off with an X-Acto knife. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit more, and then I'm going to hit these with the same high gloss paint. Last thing I'm going to do before I put the chassis back in is just clean up some of this rust on the transformer. Good enough. Well, there it is, all put back together. You know, it's not bad looking. It cleaned up actually pretty decent. I think it really helped to paint these. That dresses it up a lot. Same thing with the hardware. I could have gone a little bit further. I missed these 2 screws, unfortunately, but at this point, I'm just going to be done with it. You know, I'm only into this thing for 10 bucks. These trade for like between 50 and 100 bucks on the used market. That's based on rolling average on reverb.com. 1 or 2 traded on eBay for like 130 bucks or something like that, but that's crazy money for this head. Plus those probably, I'm assuming they probably had, I didn't read the full description, but they may have had the foot switch with them. But anyways, send this down the road and move on to another project.